today we will be unboxing another figurine for the week. Here we have is a figure from the manufacturer's BushiRoad Creative. Is a figurine part of their PalVerse line. Is a PVC figure of the characters Harukaze, Doremi, Fujiwara, Hazuki, Senoo, Aiko, Segawa, Onpu, Asuka, Momoko, and Makihatayama Hana from the series Ojamajo Doremi or Magical Doremi, based on their appearance in the Dokkaan series. As always, before we take the figurine out of its packaging, just in case you didn't know, Ojamajo Doremi or Magical Doremi is an anime original, originally aired in 1999, consisting of 51 episodes animated by Studios Toei Animations, the studio known for also animating Dragon Ball in 1986, Slam Dunk in 1993, Pretty Soldier, Sailor Moon in 1992, and others. Ojamajo Doremi has an accompanied manga in 1999 following the same story as the anime, written by Todo Izumi and art by Takanashi Shizue. The series also has 3 sequels called Ojamajo Doremi Sharp in the 2000s, Motto Ojamajo Doremi in 2001, and Ojamajo Doremi Dokkaan in 2002. The series also has a couple of movies called Ojamajo Doremi Sharp Movie in the 2000s, Motto Ojamajo Doremi Kaeru Ishi no Himitsu in 2001, Maho Minarai wo Sagashite in 2020, all animated by Studios Toei Animations. The series does have a couple of OVA, ONAs, minis, music specials, and others. But to save on time, I'll just show you a couple of pictures here on screen and we're going to be moving on. So each season has their own outfits and magical wands. The figurines here is actually based on their Ojamajo Doremi Dokkaan series, which the anime consists of 51 episodes and was aired in 2002 by Studios Toei Animations. So here we have is the figurines box rotating in 360, consisting of the full cast Doremi, Hazuki, Aiko, Onpu, Momoko, and Hana. This is their box rotating in 360. So without holding you guys back, let's just take all of them out the packaging and see how the figurines look up close. Alright, so here we have is the actual figurines box. So because this is actually sold separately because they are trading figurines, but here I actually bought a full set that come with all 6 characters. Normally they will be randomized when you go into a store and buy one, so you most likely won't get all 6 if you buy the whole box. But since like I said, I bought this in a whole set, we're going to be having all the characters. So normally you will see this in this small little box here, which comes in the packaging, where you do see it has its own individual design here that I'm showing you. You have the back here where it has all the information, all the sides where it has the characters, and the front has the main character Doremi, and you can see the UPC code at the bottom. So I'm not really certain which character this is going to be, so we're going to be going off based off whatever character I open. So for our first character here, okay, so here we have is Hazuki, and I think this only comes with this figure. So you do get this small little clear plastic piece here where you do place on underneath Hazuki's foot to have her standing up, because she's in kind of a little bit of an awkward pose that honestly I don't think she can stand up without this. So let's just place this down and move on to the figurine. So here we have is Hazuki Fujiwara, which is the second magical girl in the franchise, and we can kind of see here we have is the paint on her boots, which honestly it kind of looks a little bit off, like it's not really that centered, where you do see like the color of the white by her boot there is kind of like a little bit off, going overlapping one of the little buttons. But again, these are trading figurines, so I'm not going to be, criticizing a little bit too harshly, because I think when you buy them they're going to be a little bit less, and they're meant to be bought and traded it because they're called trading figurines. And I think they did a pretty nice job representing the character. She has a little like slight pose. She is kind of like the timid, shy one, or kind of like you could say the more fancy, sheltered character. And I don't know if I mentioned this early in the video, but she is Doremi's childhood friend. And she is the second character that becomes a magical witch alongside Doremi in this franchise, which is probably the reason why on the bottom of the little clear piece you get, it says number 2. So that does kind of make sense. I'm assuming all the other characters probably have a number underneath as well. But we do see here, they did a pretty nice job sculpting this. The paint looks somewhat decent. Again, it's not going to be the best because these are smaller figurines, so they're not going to put as much detail. And because these are supposed to be sold maybe in a store when you're just seeing a little figurine to buy, they're not going to be the best. Like here on the color here is not as good. Well, here's okay. The glove section here looks kind of okay. The sculpture looks actually really nice as well. You see the palm there, and it is a little bit flexible, but do be advised, don't really be flexing the figurine too much to avoid breaking or snapping it, because it does kind of feel a little fragile, where if you do move it too much, I feel you can, accidentally bend the plastic. Kind of see here, this hand is kind of like open gestured. I feel like they were going to give her a little wand there, but they probably decided not to because it was going to be maybe another smaller piece. So here we have her face here, which looks okay. Again, this is stylized in a PalVerse. They have a certain style. It's almost like a pop figurine where they have their own style. So these PalVerses has this like kind of unique style, and you kind of see her pupils there kind of have a little cube inside of it rather than a circular circle pupil, or should I say like reflection. But I think they did a pretty nice job on the sculpt of her hair. It looks pretty nice. The glasses look a little bit off-centered. Maybe that was because the way they positioned her face looking in only one certain direction. But besides that, I think her face looks actually pretty nice. Here on the side we could kind of see her entire witch hat. And kind of see loops in the back and kind of all the way to the top, and it kind of bends downwards. Kind of like all the other magical witches that have all their hat kind of similar. Which is all kind of slightly bended to the side. But they did a pretty nice sculpt work here on the crease there. It looks pretty nice. But overall the figurine looks really nice. It really captures Hazuki's personality. Maybe just a little, because I know later on in the series she gets a little bit more open rather than a little bit more like shy. So with that being said, let's just move on to the next character. So moving on to the next packaging. So I'm not really certain who this is going to be. I'm going to see after I open this. Okay, so this is Hana, which is I think the final magical girl in the franchise that gets introduced. So yeah, this is how it will look when you take it out of its packaging. So she also does come with her own clear plastic piece here that goes onto her foot area. So again, nothing really too much special to show you on this, and I noticed this does have a number 6 underneath. So again, let's just place this down and move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is Makihatayama Hana, or Hana for short, which is the final magical girl that gets introduced in the franchise. And or should I say the little child that gets introduced in season 2 when Doremi becomes a mother, which I actually really loved seeing that. It was pretty cute. But here we have is the Hana's figurine, and again the paintwork looks really great compared to what we saw with Hazuki. Again, we're obviously going to see a little bit of like, paint that's not the best, and maybe some areas that are not as like detailed, but that's because it's a trading figurine, so I'm going to give this figurine a pass. But we do see here they actually did a pretty nice job on this figurine. Everything looks actually really sculpted quite well. I actually really love her pose. Her pose gives off a really energetic, like curious girl, because she came from being a little baby to becoming this almost the same age as Doremi and the rest of the cast, enjoying school life or trying to learn. We kind of see she does have her little backpack with the wings. I'm surprised they didn't give her the little elephant, but again, they're not gonna give you everything. Like they didn't give you like the magical wands and stuff. We do see here she has twin tails on both sides here, which do curl from the corners there. Here's her glove here that has her little side, the design there, which looks pretty nicely painted. Again, this looks actually really nice for the figurine, so this might be one of those cases where some figurines might come really detailed, and then sometimes when you get yours it might not be as detailed. But here on her figurine, it actually looks really nice, and the scope work looks really nice as well. You see the little detail on her little poofs on her shoulders, all the way to the tips of her little fingers, kind of tilted a little bit to the side. And here we have Hana's face, which again looks actually really nice. This is the main reason why I got these PalVerse figurines, because normally I'm not really too big of a fan of the PalVerse line. The design here really captures the character's art style, which is the reason why I got these PalVerse figurines. And I think they did a pretty nice job here, where you see her pupils, the big smile that Hana has. We can see her hair from the top area, kind of sculpted really nicely as well. And she does have a different hat compared to the other characters, where her witch hat here on the top portion has two little extensions on the top, which kind of look like ears, but it's just the way they designed it. But she does have the little curl or the little bend on one of the little points on the top, which again is pretty cute. And the overall paint looks actually really nice with the yellow going around the hat. And we do see here from the top portion there, which looks actually really nice. Again, I think they did a pretty nice job with this figurine. The coloring and everything looks really nice, but it's only going to be yellow because she's kind of like the white outfit. So here we have is the next box. So again, I'm not certain who this is going to be, so let's find out after I open it. Okay, so here we have is Momoko, which is our American gal. So this is everything that it comes in its packaging. So let's just remove all of this and see how the figurine looks up close. So here she does come with her own little clear plastic that goes onto her foot. So as we can see here, she does have it in number 5 because she is the 5th witch introduced in the series. So let's just place this down and move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is Momoko Asuka. So technically speaking, she is Japanese but moves to the US and then gets called back to be with the rest of the cast by I think the Witch Association. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I kind of forgot. But we do see here she is a bright yellow compared to the white and the orange from the other characters. And I think honestly the paint here on her shoes or her boots look really nice compared to what we saw with Hazuki. You do see her legs going all the way up, being glued underneath her skirt. I forgot to also mention this with the other two characters. I'm also give this a pass because they are young kids, so it's not like I expect anything sculpted underneath her skirt. But regardless, here with the rest of her skirt, it actually looks pretty vibrant. The yellow really contrasts with the white, giving it a really bright feeling, which kind of makes sense because she is like an English speaker from the US, so she has kind of like that upper like energetic attitude. But I think she was kind of like more timid when she came back to the States. She was more of the silent type in Japan because she has kind of like the language barrier, if I remember correctly. And you can kind of see here, I think the pose kind of captures her, you know, unique energetic tone compared to what we saw with Hana, which we saw her with like a little outstretched arms and being a little bit more hyper. Here she has her hand to the side, it kind of her hand forward, kind of has like that we can do this, you know. But the overall paintwork looks actually really nice. Maybe in some areas you can kind of see it's like not the best paint when it comes to like this area here of her glove, which it's like kind of okay, but if you look real closely it's kind of like a little bit messed up. She does have this hair design here with little hoops in the back, which I'll be honest, I don't know what that style is called, but it's pretty cute and unique. But going up, she does have this blonde hair, and we see here from her face here, she does have her green eyes there, which honestly the facial sculpt looks really nicely painted. Here's her side profile, her front, and then her other side profile there. But overall, I think the paint looks actually really nice here on her face. You can kind of see it has the same PalVerse design look, but again, like I stated earlier, I think it really captures the anime style, so it looks really nice. Going up to the top portion here, we see is her witch hat. I think the buttons here are painted really nicely, but the top, again, I think is the exact same hat that we see with all the other two characters. Well, from Hazuki, from we saw in the beginning. So this is just a different color. So I also forgot to state that they're witch apprentices, not actual witches, which is important because a witch is a little bit different from apprentice, but they are apprentices, so this is their outfit. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. But again, I think this is really a nice figurine. But overall, I think this figurine looks actually really nice. I love the way they have her pose. It really captures her, characteristics from the show. So let's just place her down and move on to the next character. So we only have 3 boxes left, so let's just go to this box and see which character this is going to be. So here we have is the most unluckiest girl, Doremi. So you can kind of see it. This is how it would look in her packaging. So let's just remove her out of this plastic and see her up close. So she also does come with her own plastic piece here, which goes underneath her foot, so you can have her standing up without having her fall. And we do see here she does have a number 1 because she is the main character and the first witch in the franchise. So let's just place this down and take a closer look at her figurine. So here we have is Harukaze Doremi, which is the first witch, and her famous quote that she's the most unluckiest pretty girl. And I actually really like this character, and I actually really love her progression from the first franchise all the way to the Dokkaan series. We do see here she has a vibrant pink aesthetic compared to the other characters, which is I really love how each character has design with their own colors. It's really great, and I think the paint here looks honestly almost similar to what we saw with Momoko. She does have a nice paint around her boots. You can see her legs glued underneath her skirt here, and going up, because like I said, this is designed based off the Dokkaan series, so they're all gonna have similar looking outfits but different coloring. And we do see here there is a T on the back side. I forgot to mention that with the other characters. And the back here is flexible, but don't really be flexing it too much to avoid breaking or snapping it. I'm only showing you guys that you could bend it. And as I stated, there's some areas that are not the best painted. Like you can kind of see it's like the paint here by her shoulder is not as aligned. But her glove looks really nicely painted here. Going up to the front side where you see the buttons look nicely painted as well. Overall sculpt work looks kind of similar. She kind of looks a little bit similar to what we saw with Hazuki, but I think her hands are in a little bit different position, and she's kind of standing a little bit more straight compared to what we saw with Hazuki's figurine. You can see this arm is being stretched out with her palm a little bit more open, like she's pulling her hand forward to bring you in. So here we have is her Doremi's face, where it has the similar PalVerse design face. But honestly, I think, again, repeating myself like for a third time or fourth time, I think it really captured the anime's style, which looks really nice. You see she has her eyebrows raised up, she has her pink pupils, and we see her mouth kind of open wide and energetic. Here we have is her hair, which is a little bit more darker red compared to her outfit being pink. And we see is her little earrings on the side, and from the top portion by her witch hat, she does have a little bit of 2 pom-poms on the top, which is her little hair design, which again looks pretty cute, and you can kind of see a little musical note on her pin by her, or clip I should say, on her hair. The hat is similarly sculpted what we saw with Momoko and Hazuki, but again this is for Doremi's hat, so it's going to be pink. But overall I think the figurine looks really nice. Again, I really like this character, and especially it being the main character in the franchise, and I think they did a pretty nice job with her sculpt work and her paint. So, and overall I think it looks really nice. I actually really like this character, so I think they did a pretty nice job with it. So let's just place her down and move on to the next character. So we only have 2 characters left, so I'm not really certain who we're going to open up next. So we'll go with this box here. We're going to see who we get. Okay, so here we have is Onpu, which is our little idol girl. So this is how she will look like when you take her out of her packaging. So let's just remove all of this excess plastic and see how the figurine looks. So she does also come with her own little clear plastic piece that goes underneath her foot, and we can kind of see here she is number 4 because she is the 4th witch introduced in the franchise. So let's just place this down and move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is Segawa Onpu, which is the idol witch girl that actually I think originally started as like the main villain in the first one. Well, not the main villain, but like the antagonist in the franchise in the introduction of the series, but then later became their friend. You know, kind of like in other shows where an enemy is like an enemy and then starts to become their friend, their ally. But she does have a vibrant purple aesthetic, because like I stated earlier, they all come with their own coloring based on, I would assume, their personalities. And we do see here she does have her feet glued underneath her skirt, and you can kind of see, like I stated, okay, the paint on her is a little bit more bad compared to the other characters, a little bit more worse than Hazuki, which is a little bit upsetting. The back section here is actually flexible as well, but again, in the franchise I think she's like the idol, so she's mainly known for being like a singer. It's like that one song that she sung when she was with Hana. I probably might put that up in the video here playing in the background, but I really like the way she sang with that song with Hana, which was pretty cute. And I'm a little bit disappointed that this figurine's paint is not the best. The sculpt work looks really nice. I think the way they have her pose really captures her little, what's her vibe, I forgot, like she's a little bit more like serious tone, but a little bit more like mature, I guess you can say. So the way they have her pose here kind of really captures the figurine, or really captures the character. So I think the figurine actually really captures the character's like unique style. You can see her finger here is pointed upwards, and she also has a winking expression compared to the other characters where they have like a default face, but she's more closed mouth and a little bit more of a mature tone. But it kind of makes sense because she's kind of keep her little idol imagery. You can see the hair at the bottom here, and you can see the top portion where you see the little buttons there, which are painted quite nicely. But overall, again, I think they did a pretty nice job with the figurine. And you see here from her sculpt by her hair, you can kind of see it really catches the 3 little extensions on the top, and her winking expression, again with the similar PalVerse face. Similar witch hat that we saw with the other characters. But we do see the little curl on the top portion of her hat there, which kind of extends on the top, which again is pretty cute. And yeah, as you can see the hat, again, same thing as the other ones, but instead purple. But the paint looks actually a lot better than what we saw with her outfit. Here's the top view of that. But overall, a little bit disappointed that the figurine's paint is a little bit off and not as good as the other characters, but I don't think that really ruins the overall figurine. So again, I really love this figurine compared to all the other ones. So here's our final witch, and we already know who this is going to be. This is going to be our little Osaka girl. So yes, this is going to be Aiko Senoo, which is again our little Osaka girl. This is how she looks coming out of her packaging. So let's just remove all of this and see how the figurine looks up close. So she also does come with her own little clear plastic piece that goes on her foot underneath, and you do see here she does come with a number 3 because she is the 3rd witch in the franchise. So nothing really else much to show you, so let's just place this down and move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is Aiko Senoo, which is our lovable Osaka girl. So she has a little bit of more of a tomboyish attitude in the franchise, and she is the transfer student from Osaka here. I think they live in Tokyo. Don't quote me on that. And yeah, I think she becomes friends with Hazuki and Doremi, and she also becomes the witch. I don't know if that was spoilers. But she does have a blue vibe, again, kind of capturing her more tomboyish attitude, because I think, well, I don't know if this is spoilerish, but I think it's only her and her father, and yeah. I really love this character. I love her takoyaki and her little, how you say, her accent, which is really nice. Again, I really love her vibe. You can see here she has also the little T on the back side of her skirt, and the back section here is flexible as well. Again, do be careful, don't really be flexing it like that because it kind of feels like I can snap it, but don't do that. So the overall paint looks actually really nice, better compared to what we saw with Onpu, which again I'm a little bit sad about that. And the rest of it looks actually really nicely aligned. Everything looks good so far. You can see her neck in the top portion there. And you can see the little front area of her dress has a little heart shape on the front there, and going to her neck there portion, which now that I thought of it, I think the other characters also had a little neck area, but I don't really think I focused too much on that. But getting a closer look here on the dress, everything looks actually really nicely aligned. You can kind of see the little circle on the top of her collar there. You can see her dress from the side. Her fist or her little hands are a little bit more curled in a closed posture, which again, she has more of the tomboyish aesthetic. Just looking at her, I can already tell she's gonna give you that little dialect that she speaks, which is really cute. Here going to her side, you can see she also has a little blue earrings on the side, and we can kind of see here they gave her kind of large forehead, which again is, I really like this character's design. And you can see here she has a blue pupils. You can see her side profile here. And we do see here she has a large forehead, and she has her open mouth just like the other characters except for Onpu, which has a closed mouth. Here we have is the top portion of her eyebrow. You can see the little block on her eyes, again with the PalVerse design, but I think it's a really nice design for the Doremi franchise. We can see her little cowlick on the front, which she's known for having that little curl on the front. And you can see the little witch hat, kind of similar to what we saw with the other characters. And I don't really have too much to say about the witch hat. And this is a really great character. I really love her little Osaka dialect, and I really love her always talking about her takoyaki. I think again really captures the character's tomboyish aesthetic. So let's just place her down and put her with the rest of the cast. so that's going to be the end of this one. So that was BushiRoad Creative's PalVerse figurines of the characters Harukaze, Doremi, Fujiwara, Hazuki, Senoo, Aiko, Segawa, Onpu, Momoko Asuka, and Makihatayama Hana from the series Ojamajo Doremi or Magical Doremi, based on her appearance of the Dokkaan series. So all in all, I gotta say is I really love Ojamajo Doremi series. I think it's a really beautiful series and a really heartfelt series, and I love the way the show is. And I'm not too fond of the PalVerse line from based on their other series that they do, but I think the PalVerse design really captures the anime style of each of these characters. And I think all the poses they decided to go with for these figurines really captured each character well. And the overall paintwork is a little bit mixed on some. Not all of them. I think some of them are really great and some of them are a little bit bad and a little bit mixed. Since these are trading figurines, that's going to be something you're going to be expecting when you get one, so don't really expect yours might come the best, or yours might not come exactly like how mine's came. So do be a disclaimer that, or do be disclaimed that yours might not come as just what you see here. But again, I really love the way they had made all the characters here. It looks really cute and it looks really amazing. I love the vibrant color that each character has, and I think the figurine overall looks really nice. So that's gonna be the end of this one, guys. I don't really have too much negative to say. The one thing I did notice though, that I think Hazuki and I think Onpu's figurines, since they're slightly posed a little bit different compared to the other cast, they're a little bit more prone to falling, is what I've noticed when I was trying to display them. So do be advised when you get those, be careful with those characters because they could kind of tilt over. So just make sure you kind of keep them on a flat surface. But overall, if you have not actually seen the Ojamajo Doremi series, I know it's an old franchise, but I highly recommend it. It's a really beautiful show, and it's almost watching like, okay, this might be personally me speaking, it's kind of like watching your daughter go from relying on magic all the way to the Dokkaan franchise where they're a little bit more older and they rely more on themselves rather than the magic. They really grow, which I really find really touching. It's a really great franchise. I highly recommend it. I'll probably leave a link to someone who broke down the franchise if you want to have like a little breakdown on it, which is really great video that I highly recommend you go watch. So if anything, go watch the series. I highly recommend it. So anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this one. I don't want to keep holding you guys back for too long or making the video a lot longer than it is. Hopefully they make more Doremi figurines. I know they have the Nendroids, but again, I don't really do too much videos on Nendroids. Maybe I will, I don't know. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll leave you guys off with the figurine rotating in 360 and other close-up shots of each characters and different angles that I could think of. So as I always say, always support the original creators for each series of figurines that we unbox. Thank you guys for coming to the channel and supporting it. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And just for this video, Dokkaan! Was that corny? I think that was corny. I'm sorry. But go watch the series. It's really cute.
素直な気持ちになる 袖背伸びをしてみたほんの1ミリだけど
音楽界が蘇っていく。
素敵だよ魔女単語さん。とっても澄んでて綺麗な歌声。
そんな
嘘じゃないよ。ドレミなんかよりずっと上手だよ。おいおい、
さあみんな歌いましょう。
笑っていた泣いていたあの時の場所もへこんでたはしゃいでいたたくさんの時もあんなに小さく見えるけど心には溢れてるありがとう。いつまでもいつまでもありがとう。聞こえるでしょ魔女単語さん。あなたの歌声が届いてみんな一緒に歌ってくれたんだよ。
ああ聞こえるよ。
ねえ魔女単語さん、歌って素敵でしょ。
ああ